Hey guys, this is the Firebird FB727S made by Gonzo knife. This and the 727 were inspired by the rat models from Ontario Knife. Now, also to be very honest, this is not how I planned to spend my day. I planned to spend my day just working with this knife and seeing what it was and how it did. But I didn't get a chance to because I made 2 other videos for my patrons. So I said, why not, as I did film the first impressions video, I'm just gonna find stuff out with you. Now, since my first impressions video about this knife, I have done a couple of things to it. Number one, I reduced the edge angle. I'm hoping you can see it. It had a fairly large edge angle, although the edge wasn't that steep, but there was a micro bevel there. It was, and all in all, it was about 30 to 35 degrees per side, which is quite a lot. Especially with smaller knives, where you're not going to have such a big grip, such a solid grip to just hold in your hand, you would really benefit from a smaller edge angle. So I put about 16, 17 degrees per side. I was aiming for 15 actually, but let's call it a 16 degree per side edge angle. And I got a deep carry pocket clip like the one on the Benchmade Bug Out, but not as good. And I modified it and I put it here. I modified it, I had to widen the holes and the screws are still sitting in a bit of an angle. So I'm never gonna take this off because I probably did some damage there. But it's in there good. It's not gonna come off. Very curious. And I cut some cardboard with it, but that was it. The edge is almost brand new after sharpening. Yeah, I did use it to break down a couple of cardboard boxes, but that was it. And because, I mean, I'm actually using this to write stuff in, but I'm just breaking pages out of it. It has a very, very clean edge. Now, this is something that I normally do. Now, I know this edge is clean, but I wanted to show you as well. It's a very, very clean cut. And I want to start cutting some wood with it. This is soft wood. This is hazel. I'm going to start with that. And I'm going to see how it feels in hand. And who knows how long this video is going to be. I don't know. And then I'm going to go to some harder wood, which will have some knots in it, and see how it does. Just by holding it in my hand, I can say, wow, this is going to be comfortable. But just holding something in your hand and pretending to do stuff, things can feel very different. They may feel better or worse, depending. But let's start with some softer woods, and then we'll check out the edge and see if we can strop it back to razor sharp. Yeah, from the start I can feel the difference in the edge angle, and you can see this is softwood. In comparison, this is not. For softwood, yeah, if you just need to sharpen a stick, maybe go through it on almost one go, you can. That's mainly the edge angle. Didn't do anything to the grind. Now, the smart thing would be to actually smoothen out the part between where the grind meets the edge, round it off a bit. That would make it an even better slicer. And for normal jobs, I don't think you would endanger the stability of the edge that much. Yeah, the chest lever grip, you can pull it off. And just shaving wood, it actually feels very comfortable. Now, I am sorry I didn't keep the original pocket clip for this test, but I put a deep carry pocket clip just to see how it carries. And yeah, with a deep carry pocket clip, blacked out, I can actually see myself, and I have carried this all the way here, and it doesn't strike anybody out. You know, somebody looks at you and doesn't just shine off your pants there. So yeah, the edge angle, I would say it does a good job. So this 16-ish degree per side is great for such a small knife. Softwood, no issues. Now I did look again, and yes, these are ball bearing washers, and that's why the action is so perfect, and there is no side-to-side blade, which is great. We'll see if it loosens up. I didn't disassemble the knife, clean it, or put any Loctite. I usually don't, and I don't like to put Loctite if I can prevent it, and I don't like to use any sort of lubricants if I can prevent it. So yeah, small control cuts also works very well, and it being an axis lock, you could probably baton this. I don't know why you would need to baton this. However, I did work once with a gentleman, and he wanted to make some notches and some small trees, and he just used a hammer on the back of his knife to make those small notches. It was a liner lock knife. I didn't think that was a best choice, but then I realized, hey, some people just use knives, they don't think about it. So yeah, that's a bit of a life experience, you know. And this is why I've decided to move sort of in a different direction, just put more of the real stuff in, like this, and like tests. I've shown tests, and people know that I test knives, but I said, why not just bring this to you? And whoever wants to watch a 30-minute video, they can. Because you very seldom get that. Tabletops are nice. So yeah, harder woods, clean, no knots, no real problems. Now, I am gonna use this with gloves in shaving that wood, simply because my hand took a beating today, so it's not a good day for my hand. That's why I didn't do more with the axe today. But yeah, at 16 degrees per side, this does excellent. Now, once again, without a comparison, you can't tell. So I'm gonna pull out the air light, and I'm gonna show you what the air light will do to this stick, the same stick that I've worked on. So here, the thinner part, sure, you're gonna have a good bite. Let's try to see what kind of a bite we can get out of this one. Much harder, I would say. And here, even though it's a smaller knife, just does better. It's just easier to cut through stuff. Now 440C, Gonzo's 440C compared to Cold Steel's AUS 10A, this one's much easier to sharpen and reprofile than AUS 10A. No matter what sharpening material you use, this will take less time. On the work sharp, I dropped this edge angle from what I initially was to about 16, let's call it 16 degrees per side, in 30 minutes while doing something else. Okay. Now, why is that lunatic trying to just cut up that stick and in different hand positions? Well, the smaller the stick, the harder of a time you're going to have holding it in your hand, and the more you're going to work around it, and the more you're going to twist and turn the blade. And this is also for me something that I didn't do. Now, I have a few Gonzo knives for which the grind was thinned out, very thin, and they go through wood like crazy. But I got to the point where it was so thin that I got major chip outs. I'm not talking about microchips. I'm talking about real chips, because it was just too thin. 440C cannot stand that. S30V can. ZDB189 can. VG10 is close to that. I mean, it can take it. It can take more than 440C when it comes to a very thin edge. But if you're going to do something like this, where you're going to move your hand around a lot, you're going to put side tensions on the edge. And I could try and shave wood with this for a long time. It's not going to dull the edge that much. Cutting cardboard, that will do it. That will do it because cardboard is a very abrasive material when it comes to cutting, and depends on how you cut it. But here, all I'm looking for is to do some cuts, move my hand as much as possible, see how comfortable it is in hand, and then find some knots. Now, I doubted that if you would have to whittle a piece of wood, you would do it like me. You would probably take an axe and take that part off. If you would have to make feather sticks, once again, you wouldn't strain as much. Grab a Mora 510 and you'll be done with it in a couple of minutes. There's a difference between using a knife in real life and testing a knife. Testing will tell you a few things. He'll tell you how comfortable it is in hand. Then again, with real usage, you're probably not gonna sit there and try to sharpen a stick like this, not even in a survival situation. If you want to make a spear, you're gonna grab a stick that's not this thick and try to thin it down. You're gonna grab something that's closer to this, or who knows, maybe a dogwood stick like this, and let's sharpen this if we talked about it. Dogwood, very hard wood. This one doesn't have that many knots in it, so oh yeah, there was a knot. Now in the chest lever grip, I can feel it right here. But this is not a bushcraft knife. This is a great EDC knife, however. And even with this smaller edge angle, it has a tough time going through it. Whew, that wasn't easy. So, comfort in hand like this, I can do it. I'm not gonna complain about it. But yeah, there are better ones out there. Like for example, the Airlight I've shown, it's much more comfortable. It has a bigger handle, even though the edges are sharper with that. It because it's bigger, it doesn't press in my hand so much. There's a lever arm you need to pay attention to here, and that's exactly where it's going to push in my hand, and that's exactly where, if you do this for more time, it's going to hurt. Now, I am very curious about the edge at this point, because a lot of people complain that 440C does not hold an edge, or that HCR13 MOV does not hold an edge. And by just what you've seen here, me cutting that softwood, that dogwood, this, I doubted that most users in their day-to-day life will do this much every day, if per week. So yeah, we're good. No chips at 16 degrees per side. All right, now I am going to put this all right here, and I'm gonna grab my glove. I'm gonna move the camera a bit down and try to shave some this piece of wood and this piece of wood, probably something that's a bit more stubborn and maybe also dirty. So that there will do it. There's a knot. I'm just cading over it. I'd like to get a deeper bite and force the blade a bit through it. Now, even with gloves, I can feel this is a smaller knife. Now that I am a bit tired, I can tell that I'm squeezing it much harder than I want to have that extra control. Let's just push it through. There you go. Keep at it. Now, is this a silly test? Yeah, maybe, because who would use it like this? But this is comparable to you breaking up thick cardboard boxes. Maybe just doing some work, I don't know. You need to adjust something, thick plastic, thick cardboard boxes. And some knives I will test more extensively than others. That depends on the price. $100 knife, I'll put more effort into it. $20 knife, well, we'll see with time, and I'll just do a quick test for me, maybe show it, maybe not, depends. So I once did this test to see how long it would take me to dull my Mora. I think it was a companion. And I cut wood, I think for about 30-45 minutes. I kept shaving wood, and there was very little difference on the edge. So I couldn't really tell. Whatever difference there might be now, it's going to be small. And by now, those people who know Gonzo's heat-treated 440C know that it's easily stroppable back to shaving sharp. What I care about is, will it hold the edge angle? Will this edge angle hold, or will I get any chips? No, there are no big chips in it. And I like to always argue with people who say, well, such a thin grind with such a small edge angle is going to be very fragile. And I always disagree. And my personal opinion is that's why super steels are so much fun. That's why if you have a knife that has a very, very expensive steel, M4 for example, I've never tested M4, if you have that, it's really not worth having the same thickness to a grind and the same edge angle as with a simpler steel like 440C or HCR 13 MOV. Those are going to be softer, weaker. But you have something like M4 or one that I like very much, even though it has its shortcomings, ZDP 189. Yeah, you can take that very thin. I have a Delica, which has a thinned out grind about 0.15 millimeters behind the edge. That's 0.006 of an inch, 17-degree per side edge angle, and I have no chips in it. Now, I didn't overboard and do something like this, but I did cut wood, straight grain wood, cardboard, and use it as a, well, everyday carry knife, whatever you would need to cut, and no issues with it. The problem I have with ZDP 189 is that with the normal strop and the stropping compound I use, the white stropping compound from Bark River, I can't really strop it back to razor sharp. I've cut cardboard boxes with that knife for about 2 hours, and because of the thin grind, it kept cutting, but there was no way I was going to strop it back to razor sharp with the strop and the compound which I use. Sure, special compounds, but that is the beauty of these steels, that I think, let's go for the knots. Here's the knot. That for these steels, and whatever you're gonna do with them, a simple strop with just about any stropping compound you like to use, it's gonna get the job done and keep your knife sharp. I like to sharpen sometimes. It relaxes me, but I don't think most people like that. And I don't even like it all the time. Sometimes I just like to sharpen a knife and be done with and start cutting. So, okay. Now, in the chest lever grip, that's gonna wear you out a lot less, but I know what the problem is. So, let's move to forward hammer grip. And my hand is a bit tired, I have to admit. And I do feel the jimping, which is much better for this one than other knives, but because the blade has this shape and the jimping's right here, choking up on it, I do feel it. And that makes sense. I could have told you that one. But what I haven't felt was the handle bothering me in this position, holding it like this. This, it does not bother me. Now, if you think that you would put more power cuts in one working session than I did here with something this small, then this is not enough for you. But if you say, well, that idiot just wasted 20 of my minutes or 15 of my minutes just shaving wood with that small knife to show that there's no real hot spot or discomfort in the chest lever grip. Yeah, right here, I feel it. But like this still feels very, very safe for this size of a knife. Now, I didn't think about any comparisons that I could do for this knife. Sure, I don't know, the Bug Out, the 940, these would be knives which probably in the same size class. I have been, I stepped on it. I have been seriously considering getting a Rat 2 now with G10 handle scales. There is some edge loss, of course, nothing significant. I can hear it. I don't know if you know. I can hear it. You know, it's not like there's a different sound than it made at the beginning, which was, well, when you get to cutting a lot of paper, you'll see this too. But there are no chips in the blade, which is something that I wanted to know for myself. Yeah, am I going to be able to work with this, go through these knots? Anything harder, like nails? Well, if you're going to go through nails with this knife, oh well. I'm sure I put my DC4 around here somewhere. Yep. If you're going to go through nails or metal wiring staples with this knife, yeah, you're gonna damage it, no question about it. Once again, this is my small strop I have nowadays with me. It's on the back of a DC4 diamond plate, leather, and I got this as a present. I don't know what kind of stropping compound exactly this is, but I said, well, let's use something else, which I don't normally use. Does it shave right now? Oh well, it still takes some hairs. So I don't know if you're going to see very much improvement after I strop it. Honestly, I was hoping for maybe a small chip and me being able to smoothen that out with maybe the diamond side or the ceramic side of my CC4, but well, that's not gonna happen unless I abuse it. I don't feel the need to. Now I'm gonna continue carrying this knife simply because I'm very curious about it, and probably the next thing with it will be to maybe reduce the edge angle a bit more, see what it can take, and maybe round off the shoulders of the edge so it will put up less resistance. As for the handle, I don't think there's much I can do, even if I would I mean, you can't really round these off further. The pocket clip, this one didn't give me any problems, and I assume the standard pocket clip wouldn't give me any problems either. But maybe with yeah, I don't know. No, I think it's fine. It would have felt different with that pocket clip, but this one's raised up a bit more, and if I would have felt it, I would have felt this one too. Because it's such a small knife, it just nests very well in my hand. Oh yeah, and after stropping it, I can tell the difference. I don't know if you will be able to, but now I just need to touch the hairs and they will fly off, which is basically the edge I started off with. Let me just, you've been here for 28 minutes. What's 2 extra minutes gonna do? Let's get a fresh piece of paper and slice it to see if maybe you can go back at the beginning of the video and be able to tell if it makes the same sound. See, there's a small curve here. That's maybe a dull spot. This small curve here indicates that, yeah, you may have a small spot that's not as sharp as the rest. So that's how you can tell. This is just basically things that nobody cares if they're just a knife user, but you care if you're like me, you have an issue. So yeah, this was you finding out with me in about half an hour of your time how this one does. I'm gonna keep working with it for a while and probably gonna do stuff to it. It's very interesting. Now, as for the axis lock, I've heard a lot of people say that they had problems with the Omega springs breaking. Personally, I have never had this problem. Now, I'm not saying it doesn't exist. Obviously it does. Personally, I've never had that issue. So, but if you do, For Benchmade models, Benchmade will probably send you some Omega springs. And for these models, I mean, at this price, you can just get a new one or make some yourself. I have a mini bug out. I bought it secondhand. The previous owner had the Omega springs break on him, and he fashioned some Omega springs out of a keychain ring. And I have that mini bug out, and I have a pair of Omega springs from Benchmade, and I still use it the way with the springs he fashioned out of a keychain ring. That's all I have to say about that. It still works. It's still very fun to play with. It's an interesting small knife. So guys, this was a different style of video, but I hope you enjoyed it nevertheless. If you have any thoughts or comments, opinions, your experiences with this little knife, drop them down in the comment section. I'll try to get to them as soon as possible. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. Check the description if you want to support the channel. I'll have a Patreon link there to my YouTube channel. And as always, I wish you all a great day.